The riff rundown with my friends at Fishman. Today's episode is pre-recorded, but don't worry, we're still gonna have a lot of fun today. This is episode 85, folks. Can you believe it? Just crazy, crazy, crazy. So for today, we're gonna be learning When I Come Around by Green Day. Awesome song that came out of the 90s. Really, really fun one to play too, and we're gonna go over all of the parts. As always, if you guys are enjoying these lessons, be sure to subscribe to the channel. It helps the cause, folks. It helps the cause. So before we get started, want to let you know that we're going to be tuned down a half step today. So tune your E string down to E flat, A down to A flat, D to D flat, G to G flat, B to B flat, and E to E flat. All right, so that's what's going to be happening there as far as the tuning goes. We're going to be going over all the parts, all right, including that little cool solo that Billy Joe does on this song too. So we're gonna have a lot of fun today. So get that guitar, tune down a half step, and here we go. Oh, and of course, I like to ask a question before we get started. Let me know where you're tuning in from and your favorite song out of the 90s. All right, so here we go. This is When I Come Around by Green Day. So this is going to be a really, really fun one today. Again, we're tuned down a half step, those of you who are just tuning in. So have those guitars tuned down a half step here. And let's go ahead and look at the intro too. So the intro and verse, same exact chords. So we totally lucked out here. All right. So what we've got is this. So I'm just going to highlight only the intro. This is what's happening. And I'll play it through a couple times. I'll slow it down a little bit too. So here we go. So that's what's happening there in that intro as well as that verse. Something else I want to mention here. I'm keeping the guitar pretty clean for this lesson just so we can really hear the intricacies of what's going on when we palm mute and when we're releasing and going from chord to chord. When you listen to this song on the album or when they play it live, lots of heavy distortion on this, all right? And I was kind of back and forth if I wanted to include the distortion on this lesson, but it was important for me for you guys to hear like that strumming. All right, so that's why I decided to keep it clean. So once you guys get this down and get it under your fingers, go ahead and get yourself an overdrive or distortion pedal and have a lot of fun with this, okay? So just wanted to say that. And again, because we are tuned down a half step here, I'm going to call these chords as if we were in standard just to keep things nice and clear for everybody. All right, so now let's go ahead and get started. So what we want to do here are the chords. We have that G5, a D5, an E minor, and a C major. Now, we could play that C major as the full C major. That includes the third or the C5. So I'll leave that up to you, but we'll talk about it once we get there. All right, so what we're going to do here, let's go ahead and look at that G5 first. Before we even play this chord, what we want to do is this, and just do a little bit of a, with that right hand, okay, or a strumming hand rather, okay? There's love for the lefties out there too. I know there's a lot of left-handed players out there. So our strumming hand here. Give me a good down up, all right, on those strings before we get started here as we introduce it, okay? Now, as you notice, my fingers here on my fretted hand are ready to go with that G5. Let me show you how to play it. So that first finger, third fret of the E string, that's gonna be your G, it's your root, okay? Third finger here on the 5th fret of the A string, that's your D, that's your 5, and then your pinky finger on the 5th fret of the D string, that is G. Now, We're playing the G5 chord. We are only playing those 3 strings and those 3 notes, okay? It's just like that. Beautiful power chord there. All right? So we're going to do that quick. Up, down, okay? Have that G5 power chord ready to go. And a good down, 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 okay? 3 down strokes. Just like that, all right? So let's do that a couple times here. Strum on that D string, okay? Because the second, we don't want to play that G string. That's a B flat. It's going to make this a minor chord. Don't want to do that. Keep to the power chord. Okay, so here we go. Let's do that a few more times. Okay, so that's what's happening there. Now here's the switch from G5 to our next chord, which is going to be a D5. It's going to sound like this. So notice how there's a little bit of open string stuff kind of happening right in between those 2 chords. Hear that open G string? That's a good thing, all right? Play that again. On that upstroke, open string, good thing. So now what we're going to do here is we're going to go to our D5. First finger, okay? 5th fret of that A string, that's our D note, that's our root. 3rd finger is on the A, 7th fret of the D string. 4th finger on the G string, 7th fret. That's our next D note. So that's going to be the sound of that chord, okay? And what we're going to do, we're going to strike that D note twice and then strum the full chord, okay? So in context, I'll play it slowly. It's going to sound like this. Context with the G chord. Here we go. And give me a good down up after that first D5 chord. All right, let's do that again nice and slowly. Let's do that one more time. One more time for good luck. Here we go. Now, what I'm hearing here, when we go to this E minor chord, okay? So keep this D5 as it is. We're going to move it up, half step, whole step, okay? Whole step, first finger should be on the 7th fret of the A string. That's our E note. 3rd finger on the 9th fret of the D string. That's our B. 4th finger, 9th fret of the G string. That's our E. And our 2nd finger, this is what makes it minor. If I didn't have that 2nd finger, this would just be an E5. But we want that minor chord here. Okay, we want that flat 3. It's going to be our G note, 8th fret of the B string. So it'll sound like this. And guess what? Say you're strumming and you happen to hit the low E. It's fine, because guess what? It's in E minor and we have the E note there. We're good, okay? So what I'm hearing here is this between these 3 chords. I'm hearing this down, up, down, and then strummed once, the E minor chord. It's only strummed one time, like that. Down, up, down, okay? Again, kind of muting here, right? Notice how I still have the chord engaged, I'm just not pressing. Strumming on the downstroke. 1 and 2. Like that. Now, when Billy Joe's playing this, sometimes you can hear that G, and other times you can't. So, don't feel like you always have to get that every time. If you don't, it's okay. All right. So what I'm going to do here, we're going to play through those three. I'm going to play through it slowly. All right. So here we go. And again, keep in mind, this is the intro and the verse. So we're covering a ton of ground with this. All right. So here we go. Nice and slowly. See? Like that. Again. Okay, so as we do that with that E minor, let's resolve it with C5, shall we? Or C major, completely up to you, all right? The C major, what are we doing? We're adding that extra third there, which would be an E note. For the C5, we would just have C and G. So let's talk about how to build it. First finger, third fret of that A string, that's your C note, third finger, reaching over here, right? Fifth fret of that D string, that's our G, that's our 5. Fourth finger down on the fifth fret of the G string, that's our other C. So you could do the C5. You could do the full C major, how we would do that. Third finger goes down on the fifth fret of the D, G, and B string. Notice the difference in sound here, C5. Only the C and G. Once we do the C major, the E, the third is included. I'll leave that up to you. I've noticed he does both, so I will leave that completely up to you. So, once we do that C chord, or a C5, strum it out a little bit, all right? So here's the whole progression. Here we go. We'll do it slowly, and then we'll build up speed. Faster. There's the C5. C major. One more time. So there it is there. So guess what? Intro, verse, done. All right? All done. So now what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and look at the pre-chorus. So the pre-chorus looks and sounds like this. We're going to do this twice. So that's what's happening there. Pretty cool, right? Easy chords, A5 and a C5. Let's talk about how we're doing this. The A5, when I noticed Billy Joe playing this live, all right, he only used one finger to play this chord, which is really great. So what we're gonna do here, that first finger, place it over, okay, the second fret of the D string, G string, and that B string. Now, we're not going to play that C sharp because that's the third of A. We want to maintain this as an A5, so we're only going to include the 1 and 5 of that chord, which would be A and E respectively, okay? So what we're going to do here is the open A string, we're going to play that E note, second fret of the D string, and we're going to play that second note of the G string, which is our other A. And those are the only notes that we're going to play, those three. Now have a look at my strumming hand here. I am only keeping it to those three strings, downward strokes here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so all downward strokes there. Notice how I'm not strumming very aggressively here. All right, I'm not really using my elbow. I don't need that big sustain, okay? And I know it's something I usually talk about, how I like to strum with my elbow. But in this case, Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Downward strokes there. From there, C5, first finger, okay, third fret of that A string, that's our C. Our third finger, fifth fret of the D string, that's our G note, that's our 5, and our fourth finger here is on the C, okay, fifth fret of that G string there, and same thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's do that again. Now you may notice this. Slate palm mutage. Don't know if that's a word, but we're going to use it today. Okay? This part of my hand here, my strumming hand. All right? I'm placing that just behind that third pickup here. And again, I'm using the sweet Fishman Fluent Strat single width pickups here. You want to learn more. Link in the video description, folks. I'm loving how these are sounding on this today. So I'm putting it just behind that third pickup. Okay? Notice the difference between that. So here's the A. Here's if I didn't palm mute. See, that's a little louder. See what I mean? Adds a really cool texture to the song. So I encourage you guys, go ahead and use that part of your hand to palm mute this. Let's go through it. That last time, 5 times. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, one more time. Okay, and again, once you guys get this down, I encourage you, fuzz, overdrive, distortion, whatever you like to get that crunchy sound on your guitar, plug it in and play this. It's gonna sound killer. Gonna sound killer. So that's what's happening there in the pre-chorus. So after we do that pre-chorus part, we're gonna go back into an intro. So to kind of talk about or play through what we have already learned here, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So here we go, intro verse into a pre-chorus. Last time here on this intro, into our pre-chorus. Now, if you saw how I did it in the beginning, every time I can do a good swipe, I will, when it's appropriate. All right, so all I'm doing there, just going from the 12th fret of the E string and bringing it down. Actually, finding wherever works for you. I think the 12th sounds nice. And then landing on that G note there, 3rd fret. All right? So again, something you want to throw in. You don't have to, but it kind of be cool. So let's go ahead and look at the guitar solo here for the last bit of this lesson. It's very cool. All right? So I'm going to play it part by part. I'll play it a little bit slower. It sounds like this. It's a pretty cool little solo. Very, very melodic. And again, once it's covered with all this cool distortion and overdrive, it's really, really heavy and sounds very, very cool. So let's go ahead and look at this here. So if you noticed, that's a G major, little triad right there. Just living on the 3rd and 4th frets of that E, B, and G string. So get that first finger here across the 3rd fret of the E string and the B string. Okay, so those are our G and D notes. Second finger reaches over 4th fret of that G string. That's going to be our B. That's our 3rd. So what we're going to do here, this is the first part. I broke this down into 6 different parts. All right, we're going to go through it. Strike the E string, B string, G string, back to B. So it'll sound like this. Don't forget to alternate pick. Okay, so that's our first bit. Now what we're gonna do here, slight variation. Get that pinky finger 5th fret of the high E string. That's gonna be our A note here. And we're gonna do the same picking pattern. E, B, G, B string. Okay, if we're talking notes. A, D, B, D. Okay. Let's combine those two parts. So notice, we keep this as is. All we do for that second part, we add that 4th finger. All right, so let's do this again nice and slowly here. We'll add speed. Again. Also notice too, can't see my thumb, okay? To the back of the neck, okay? Drop that palm, keep it nice and strong. Okay, you can do it. So those first 2 parts, done, easy. Now, for the next part, it sounds like this. So instead of going back to that G note, all we're gonna do is add that little A note there. And again, I watched a couple live versions. He says a little bit differently every time. So this is as close as we'll get in mixing a live version and an album version. Okay, so here we go. And then let's add the next part. Why not? Give me 2 downward strums here on this G triad. Just like that. So the third part would look like this. Or if you want to do upstrokes, if that feels a little more natural to you, you can do that too. All right, so let's do that again. Okay, so let's combine all 3 parts. Here we go. Let's do it again. Do it a few more times here. Starting to get the hang of it, right? This is really fun. So here we go. So that's what's happening there. And that's most of the solo. So what we're going to do here, this next part, we're going to keep this G triad. We're going to strum it 3 times. Downward strokes. So 1, 1, 2, 3. We're going to get this 4th finger, okay? Back on that 5th fret of the E string, that's our A, downward stroke twice. Release it 2 times, G triad. In context, it will sound like this. I will play it slowly. Again. Pretty cool, right? Let's do that one more time. We'll add it to the rest of it. Okay, let's start it from the top. Here we go. Again. Pretty cool, right? So we're gonna do next, this is the final bit of this solo. We've ended on this G major triad. What I want you to do, we're still gonna use these 2 fingers here, okay? But check it out. Keep your 2nd finger where it is. 1st finger, curl it to play this D note, okay, 3rd fret of the B string, what I want you to do here, slide it all the way. 1st finger is going to be on the 8th fret of that B string. That note is G. And our 2nd finger is going to be playing E, 9th fret of the G string. And here's the thing, get that high E in there too, just like that. So when we're sliding, and we're gonna hit that 3 times. Now, to conclude the solo here, bring that 2nd finger back, 5th fret of the G string, that's our C. 3rd finger, 5th fret of the B string, that's our E, and guess what? Include the high E in there too. 1, 2, 3. Sometimes he did it 4 times, sometimes he did it twice live. Again, I kind of like that. 1, 2, 3, and then we go into that pre-chorus. So let's go through the whole solo nice and slowly here from the top. Here we go. Again. Let's do it one more time. Let's do it to speed. Pre-chorus. Chorus, or intro. Again. Pre-chorus. Okay, now let's do the solo. Back to that pre-chorus. Slide. One more time. So there it is, folks. That is When I Come Around by Green Day. Such a fun one. We went through all the parts. Again, if you're enjoying these lessons, be sure to subscribe to the channel. It totally helps the cause, and I so appreciate it. And I do want to mention, I see the comments that you guys write to each other on these live streams, and it just absolutely warms my heart how cool and wonderful you are to each other and how uplifting you are to each other in the chats. I know all sorts of folks, beginners through advanced, are watching these lessons. Thank you all for being so kind to each other. Again, we're building a great community here, and I cannot thank you enough for being so cool to each other. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. We're here to learn, and we're here to be inspired. So thank you all so much. Again, as always, wishing you all so much success in your musical journey. All right? You guys take care.